Hi, everyone. So yes, my name, I'm a volunteer with the Mobile Climate Science Labs, which is a program of climatechangeeducation.org. We, you may know us from the physical North Bay Science Discovery Day because we specialize in doing hands-on science with the public, especially science centers. Today, we're making for the first time a way of doing the science demonstrations live and interactive and really toward interactive. We want to make it as close to a hands-on experience as possible with you. Okay. Today I am going to be joined by Natalie, and these are some more of our volunteers. Natalie is a teacher, and our student volunteers, we have Luca, Adam, and Tonya, and they all will be helping to lead things. But we are going to make this interactive as possible to ask the kids who want to unmute themselves. We'll get some volunteers at a time to say you'd like to be interactive. Now I have to start moving around here and doing this. We are going to have a lot of fun today. This is going to be fun, but as you see from the title, we have, sorry, and I need to go over here. You can see from the title, we have a serious subject today too. We're going to be looking at wildfires and how firefighters use infrared satellites to deal with wildfires and to help keep our community resilient. Okay, so we're going to get a balance here of serious and having a fun time. So we're going to be looking, this is a little bit more like what a real science festival is like. We're going to have that, okay? So I'll let Natalie just introduce herself for a minute here, and then we'll get going. Natalie might tell us, I'm going to start doing some things, and Natalie might tell us a little bit that she's the one who's going to be taking questions and encouraging people to, some volunteers to speak up, okay?
Hi, everybody. I'm Natalie. I'm a teacher at the Lowell School, and I'm really excited to be here with you. Jim and I and the students have some great activities planned. And one of the things that we're hoping is that you will put your questions or your comments in the chat where we can see them. And then we can also, you can ask to be unmuted if you would like to speak or if you would like to ask a question. So I see that Jim is getting everything ready. And in just a few moments, we'll be starting with some things. Please pay close attention to what you're seeing on the screen. If you were at an actual science festival, you'd be able to hold these things and touch them and have them in your hands and look at them. So since you can't use your body today, you're going to have to rely just on your eyes. So have some eagle eyes.
And I'll throw in what we're hoping it can be is, especially the students who are speaking, can kind of tell me what to do. I'm going to try to be a robot controlled by you as far as my hands are as possible. So if you say, I'd like to see what's on the other cards, I turn them over. Okay. I want to see what's behind the two, and I do it. Okay. So we're going to make, do you see, that's the idea, to make it as hands-on as we can. All right. So if Natalie's got some more, I'll defer to that. Otherwise we'll get going. Okay, so on this first one, I'm going to just do it a little bit, and then maybe after we do this a little bit more, then we'll take some volunteers. So whether it be by chat or raise your hand, if you can signal to Natalie which kids would like to be selected first to be live with us, just speaking, not visual, but just speaking, okay? So, all right, here we go. So we're looking at things. Invisible light, you see this black disc, and we're going to see what's this about. And later we're going to be looking at things in shortwave infrared. Ooh, I did it wrong. Boy, I just messed you up. So anyway, we're looking at things on the right side. We're going to be seeing things in this special camera, these special cameras that see light we can't see, invisible light. We're used to seeing with our eyes, but there are cameras that can see things we can't see. Okay, so we want to see what this is. Does anybody if anybody have any ideas what it is, they can write it in the chat, they can say something about it. But let's go ahead, and indeed we're going to turn it on now. We're going to turn on the shortwave infrared camera, and what do we get? You see how you can see things all along. We could have told time with it, but we need a shortwave infrared camera to do that. Okay, so we can explore that.
I'm just going to interrupt you a second and ask Diane. I am not seeing a chat function at all. And I'm
there we
also
are.
not seeing hands raised. So I'm wondering if people are raising their hands and I just can't see them. And if there is a chat and if I just can't see it, but I'll let you keep going then, Jim.
Okay. So what we see
So
overall, and I have to test my screens a little bit. I realized I was talking without the right screen on, but here we are with, we see the shortwave infrared camera. We can see that's not just a black disc. Go ahead, Diane, you had something?
so some of the kids are responding. So people are saying a clock from Leah, Cole. There's a couple of others. So I will, Natalie, I'll try to help you on the side.
Yeah. Okay, so we can see different things now. So here's the first one. This clock has what I would call a filter on it. It is a particular kind of paint that does not let visible light get through, so we can't see the clock face. But it's a paint that does let this infrared light through, and so we can see the clock face if we have the right camera. Okay, and what we have on that. So I'm going to go. Let's go to another thing. We're going to do this, and first, again, we'll look at things a little bit in just visual. And what we can see is I have some flashlights, okay? And I am going to turn on and off these flashlights and see if you can see what's going on with them, right? We're going to turn these on. Well, they don't seem to be working, but if we go over into shortwave infrared, we can see that they actually are on. So you can see they're on my hand. So what we're getting at here is that there are things that produce this light. Sunlight makes it. We can get into that later. About half of sunlight is this type of light, but there are sources of light. We can do it. What we want you to get an idea of is that this is a real thing. There is invisible world around you that you just can't see all the time. If there's any kids who are ready to be unmuted, we can start getting comments and they can start asking to do things like, what would you like me to shine it on? We've got just this kind of a silly one, a Mr. Bill, or some people call it a Gumby, of just, I want to get something that we can put the light on. But if we start to have kids who want to be speaking, we can do that. Okay. Has anybody, can anyone comment, has anybody ever seen this before, that there's electronics that can make this type of light? And you know what? You may not have known it. Maybe some of you know it, but here's an example. Everybody knows what this is, right? These are everywhere. That's how these work. Remote controls for all types of electronics, they're using shortwave infrared. That's why we don't see them blinking. But if you have this type of light, you can see that's how they send messages to a VCR or a media player or a computer or all kinds of tons of things, right, these days, right?
Jim, Leah said in the chat that she's seen a remote do that before. She's aware of that.
Good.
We did have someone ask us, can our eyes see infrared? Is it safe to look at it?
Yeah, good. Let's see. Well, our eyes do see it. Our eyes are exposed to it all the time. That's an important question. I agree. Half of sunlight. I'm going to show a graph in a little bit here. Let's see if we can. Actually, I got the wrong one up here right now, but let's see if I can go to this here. I'm going to work my way into this. I mean to have another graph up here for a second. Is visible light is the rainbow part over on the left. Sunlight is that type of light, but it also goes further to the right. When we go outside in the sun, we're a much brighter shortwave infrared than these flashlights make. The sun comes in, so our eyes are being exposed to it all the time. Our brain doesn't tell us that it's there. The eyeballs don't give us messages, but it's there all the time. Nevertheless,
Jim,
yeah, go ahead.
Just to interrupt you, Cole actually has an infrared camcorder. Cole is letting us know that in the chat. And then Kelsey B said, why is it in black and white? Why isn't it in color?
Good. Thank you. You all are asking the ones. These are all the perfect. Here we go. I'm going to give you one more thing on the safety thing. There are a lot of products that sunglasses that don't block shortwave infrared very well. And I worry about those a little bit because our eyes are getting a lot of that. But we're very careful to have people not shine it in their eyes at the science centers. But generally, it is not a dangerous type of thing. Yeah, and if we can go into actually people have these more. These cameras are actually pretty common. That they're we can go on how they work later. If people are interested, we can do it. So let's see. Why is it in black and white? That's one of the things that's very amazing. Humans see this light we see, our brains and our eyeballs help us see different parts of light. The high parts like the or the low parts like the low, and we see different colors based on that. But colors are only what our brains can make sense of light. There are no colors in shortwave infrared. There's different highs and lows, but our brain, there's nothing we can call these. There's no colors. So that's why we show just the brightness, because our brain and our eyes don't know how to make sense of this as a color. We can make false colors. We can see images of it, but black and white is all we can do because it's bright and it's dark. Now we can do some more. Hold on that one, and we can do some more demonstrations. And that's the idea. You can see like Mr. Bill or Gumby. You can see how it's just gray. Everything's just gray. Okay, so we can come back to that one a little bit more. But I'm liking with the questions people are answering. Okay. How are we doing on the ability of a student to speak, a kid to speak?
Wait, I will do the kid to speak in a minute. Cole actually has a lot of comments in the chat, and so maybe I would invite Cole to unmute himself.
Please, yes, Cole.
And also KA had a question, and KA, if you would like to unmute and ask your question, you can.
So how did the a black disc show the face of a clock?
Okay. And how about let's work with the other students? As we're a physical science center, we'll help each other. We're all going to use what we know to help the others on things. Does anybody else want to, I don't want to talk too much. So how do we people making sense of this, and what's just too strange still?
I'm wondering, Luca, would you like to answer KA's question, how the black disc turned out to show the face of a clock?
Okay, I can do that. So if we look in visible light, we can't really see through the clock. Like, it just looks black, right? But when we turn into infrared light, we can see through the clock, right? But that's because there's a special kind of paint on the surface that blocks our visible light wavelengths. So think of light as waves. So these light waves are coming in and the paint is blocking them. The paint doesn't allow them to come through. But then the longer light waves, the bigger ones that are infrared light waves, can go through these surfaces, the paint, and go through the surface to see the clock on the inside.
Luca, that was a great explanation. I wonder if Cole wants to add on. And Cole, it's okay. You can either type in the chat or you can unmute yourself and add on to what Luca was saying. So I think that Cole's going to keep it in the chat. Let's see. That's great, Cole. I see that you're going to type in the chat. So we'll all look there for Cole's reactions. And KA says, thank you for that clear explanation. Jim, do you want to take another question, or do you want to move on to another demonstration?
I think we want to play with this. This is how we do it in the real science, the physical science centers. Is we're going to go with things that are interesting you. So I'm going to move it a little bit along. But what you saw is I brought in another example of something that's using the same filter. It's so you can kind of see it move around, and you can see that it's a little more, it's less mysterious than the paint that's on the disc that's here. And but here it's the same thing. Now later we can look at, while this is a artificial product, it's something that a company makes. It's not that strange in nature. It actually happens a lot in nature. It's all around us, but we don't know it because we don't look in this light. But once we look in this light, we see it's very, very important. And it even has to do with how we deal with wildfires. Okay, so we'll get into that. Okay.
Jim, one more thing. Leah does have her hand up. So Leah, would you unmute yourself and share your question or comment?
I was just gonna say that like I thought that like maybe there was like some kind of plaster before Luca actually told us what it was.
That there was plastic over the top of the clock before you saw what it was?
Like I thought it was like some kind of plaster that only like the other type of light could like see through.
That's awesome. You were making a hypothesis, like an educated prediction, a guess about what was making that work. I like that, Leah.
And this paint, I think, is actually very close. It's not plaster exactly. It's still paint, but it kind of does look like plaster. You're right.
And if you were holding it in your hands, like you might not at first even know what this was when you're just looking with your eyes at it, because it really just looks like a black disc, almost like a Frisbee or a plate. But it's just a regular clock that we like got it. I don't know where we got it, like the store, like Target or Walmart or Amazon.
That's the idea.
Oh, that's right. It came from Amazon because it got shipped to my school.
No, but that's the idea. It's just an ordinary clock. There's nothing special about it.
Except that we covered it with paint. We covered the top of it with paint.
Yeah.
Which acts as a filter. All right, Jim, I think we're ready to go on.
And this is one where the one I messed up. We're still practicing in things where I need to let Luca know that we're ready for Luca to take over. I will be Luca's hands, but I'm going to be following what Luca has to say. Do you need a little more time to prep? Do you know you're up, Luca?
Nope, I got it. Okay, so now we're gonna try a sort of a magic trick of sorts. So we have these cards separated into two decks that are red cards and black cards. You know, this is like an ordinary deck of cards. Like, you know, one you would get like just like the stores that we said earlier, Walmart, Target, wherever you get your cards. I don't know. Okay, so now let's turn them back over. Now, let's switch to infrared light. Let's see what these look like in infrared. Pretty much the same. Now, let's pick a black card. See what happens. Yep, it looks pretty much normal, right? Now, let's try a red card. See what happens if we pick a red card. Hold on, wait a minute. There's nothing there. Okay, let's try the other reds. Maybe it's just like something weird about the camera. There's nothing on that one either. That's because like Cole and Natalie was explaining earlier, there's no colors in infrared light. Like red and blue and orange and green and all the other colors, they don't appear in infrared light because infrared light is a whole different type of light that our eyes can't see. So our eyes can't make colors out of this light. So we just don't see anything.
And what we'll see is that things that are black, you keep an eye on that as things that are black. Some things that are black are also dark in infrared and some things aren't. But red, you just can't see it. Did you have a question for people? Did you have a question for people, Luca, that you would like to see if they wanted to do something along this line on colors?
Okay. Do you guys want to see any other colors?
So you can type in the chat if you'd like to see another color, like red or blue or orange. I think we've got several different colors. Yep, people are saying sure. You can also raise your hand if you want to talk about it. So, you know, red, blue, orange, what do you want to see? Green.
I see
Do you have-
green.
Do you have green, Jim?
Yep, got green. And I see a blue coming up. So we'll do green. I see green, orange, and blue, right?
Yep, that's
So
right.
how about this?
Wait, let's predict first. Right?
Oh,
Let's
sorry. I
predict.
kind of already messed you
Oh.
up.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, let's predict. So yeah, keep predicting on things. Before we go to orange, you want a prediction?
What do you think? Will you be able to see it or not see it in infrared?
Now you see it, now you don't.
Yeah, I'm seeing predictions in here. I'm also seeing observations. Someone observed that the board is blank in infrared when you use the green marker. And KA and Morelia predict that we will not see orange as well.
Okay, let's try orange. Looks like KA and Morelia were right. We cannot see orange in infrared.
And if I think people wanted blue next, or I sorry, yeah, blue. I think we had coming up. Should I do blue?
Yeah, blue. Any predictions for blue? I'm wondering if people think the board will still be blank.
And you can probably guess the word I'm going to
Looks like
write
it's
next.
unanimous.
So Morelia, Cole, Ben, D, and KA all feel like blue will not show up because there are no colors in infrared wavelength, is what Cole says. KA says, I think you can't see any color except black or maybe white.
Okay, then let's try a black marker. Let's see what happens.
Great idea.
Great, white if the drawing board is not white. That makes sense.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm going to improvise something here. I have a clipboard here, and this will probably stay on the clipboard forever. but it's having some fun here is more important right now. So I will say I'm just going to put the number 2. Okay. This is good. And by the way, we don't mind. In fact, we think it's cool if people ever want to test us. We like the idea that you might want to say, are we tricking you? Is this a magic trick? We want you to it's the word in science of being a skeptic. A skeptic is someone who wants proof, but one who, when they see the proof, then they say, wow, that's real. But you can test us and see, are we tricking you? Or any experiment you want to do. I want you to experiment and I will follow your rules. Okay.
Jim, Morelia is asking for clarification. So we can only see monochromatic colors. Is that true?
I mean,
What about the chlorophyll, Jim? I'm thinking
yeah,
about the
okay.
chlorophyll.
Well, give me. All right. So this is it. We'll go to where we're going to go. Give me a minute. This is. I have these boxes. This is all the first time for us, people. I've done this live, but I've never done it with everybody here. Here's some examples of things that are fluids, and I promised you that while these filters are made of a thing a company makes, right? That in nature it's not that unusual. Okay. So I'm gonna first do one. So bear with me, and I'm gonna hope the cards are working underneath. Now, please give me feedback if I'm doing it wrong or anything isn't. I'm not doing it well. Okay. This first one. This is some coffee. So that's a pretty ordinary thing. It's plant-based. It's made from coffee beans. And is that what people are seeing? That was pretty darn dark when it's in the visible light, but it's very transparent, or close to completely transparent in shortwave infrared. And that's actually really important for our last session today when we get into vegetation of plants. But it's also important to firefighters. Okay, is that picking up okay? Is everybody somebody give me some feedback that worked? Did that show up okay?
It did work. It worked.
Okay.
It showed up just fine.
So
and can I interrupt, Jim?
Please, of course, every time.
So what you're seeing is the ability of the item to allow shortwave infrared light to pass through or to block shortwave infrared light. So it's more of an on-off. Either the shortwave infrared light is coming through, or it's being blocked. And the level to which it's coming through or being blocked, like if it's coming through 60% or 70% or 80%, that shows you the darkness or lightness that the camera is going to pick up.
Cool. So I'm going to move to another fluid. And again, this is kind of a preview for our last one on vegetation, plants, trees, and how scientists look at that and things, because plants have a very special property. This is chlorophyll. I'm going to give it to a second. This is the stuff that makes plants green and how plants make energy from the sunlight. So this is liquid chlorophyll that people sell, because some people like to drink it, and I guess other things, but you can kind of see the same kind of thing. I mean, it's really dark in the visible light, yes.
So Cole made an interesting comment. Cole said that water will absorb the infrared waves, and Cole's right that water looks very interesting in infrared. Of course, in a chlorophyll bottle, you have the chlorophyll mixed, I think, with water.
That's right. And that's absolutely right. Now, when we're going to go, by the way, is we intended to have some things that we knew we wanted to do at the beginning. And we're still in that zone. And we're going to do some things on fires. At the back end, whether it's it won't be the last half hour because we're doing pretty well on these questions. But we can have that. So the things I saw from Luca and the question we just had from Cole is, let's go more in deep into those as we go a little bit later. Is that all right? So people hold things and put it back up, because there's a lot of things we can go into more deeply. Okay. I'm going to do a last one here just to try this one. I haven't even looked myself to see what's going on, but maybe we'll get a reaction. I'm going to get some orange juice here. I haven't even looked myself. I think I know what's going to happen, but I don't know. Okay.
All right,
Ready?
kids, do you want to make some predictions first about what will happen with the orange juice?
Everybody
you can
knows.
Say your prediction out loud, or you can type it in the chat.
It might not show.
Looks like most people are saying that it was gonna look clearish in the internet.
Let's see. Here we go. Still pretty murky, huh?
Well, it is showing up, but it's a lot lighter than the other ones.
Yeah. Now the fact it's gray or black, in black and white, that's everything's black and white. I think that now, by the way, wine or grape juice also is very clear. But I think one of the things about orange juice is it's got little cells of oranges in it. It's not just a fluid, but there's pulp and there's a lot of pieces. And as we can get into when we do the plants, when you have cells, or pieces of cells and things, they tend to be reflective. And so it's sort of a mixture of clear. The orange part is probably clear, but the isn't. So I wanted to get one that, and it is what anyway, I wanted to see if I could find something that doesn't fit that same, well, it's clear.
I really did wonder about the pulp. I was going to ask you, is it a high pulp orange juice or a pulp free?
That's right. Yeah. I think this is more your typical one. It was neither high pulp or whatever. That's not one I'll play with in the future. So this would be, I don't know, a fairly common orange juice that was going on. Okay. Okay. So actually, should we make sure we're getting on to some with the wildfires? Is that right?
Yes, because we're more than halfway through the session.
That's right. So Luca, if you're getting ready, I need to get some of the things ready. We're going to take a look at some wildfire videos. Okay.
Okay.
And this is really a test of when I'm getting to know things here a little bit. So bear with me. So if you're ready, and that's supposed to be a pearly.
It looks like we have a question in the chat. So
yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead. Jim is working on technical things, so please go ahead.
Natalie, why don't you answer this one?
So if you put a tint on the glasses, would the juice still look white in the infrared light? And I think that Cole is right. I think that the tint would not make a difference. Although, it's all about what chemicals were used to make the tint. So we could probably try out like several different tinted glasses to see if it would change the look. So while Jim is doing that, I'm just going to type in the chat that if you have questions or you're interested in this and we don't get a chance to answer it today, you can write us an email. I'm going to put the email address in the chat right now. And if you are interested in working with us at future science festivals, like if you think this stuff is really cool and you'd like to be a part of the team like Luca or some of the students who are presenting later in the day, then you could let us know that by emailing us as well. Morelia asked, does the material that the liquid is in matter? So you imagine that we took the container for the liquid and we covered it in that same black paint that we covered the clock face in. So if we did dip the container in the black paint or spray the paint on it, then it would block visible light. So we would not be able to see what's inside the container with our eyes, but we would still be able to see the liquid inside the container using the infrared camera.
Okay, so I think I'm finally ready here with the to go for you, Luca. I'm just going to bring up your image here.
Okay, so the Kincaid wildfire, as I'm sure some of you already have heard of, took place in October 2019, just a few miles north of the place where we hold the North Bay Science Discovery Days. Can you hold on? Let's wait for it to come back to the map. And there we go. Can you spot the Kincaid fire in Sonoma County? It shows up as a black dot on the camera. As you look closely at the whole picture, where else do you see wildfires? If you look closely, you'll see the blazes in Southern California, Idaho, Oregon, Utah, and even in coastal Mexico. These wildfire images were taken by a satellite run by NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Since NOAA is part of the US government, these satellite images belong to the American people and are available for public viewing and public use. This particular satellite, called GOES, actually records 16 different bands of light, and the images you are seeing are from band 7, which is mid-range infrared. GOES satellite images in the mid-infrared band 7 tend to look a little bit darker during the daytime and a little lighter at night. This is because mid-range infrared is actually a combination of sunlight and the radiation that the Earth emits itself. The wildfires emit more heat than the most of the Earth's surface. They stand out really brightly, especially large fires like the Kincaid, if you can see it. So the color bar at the bottom, which you saw earlier, it's not there anymore, but it is set by NOAA to focus on the objects and the temperatures that are most interested in their research. In this particular video, black is chosen for the hottest areas. The bright colors are set for the colors of the clouds because that's what NOAA is mostly studying, but we can also use this band to see wildfires.
Thanks, Luca.
So I'm going to go ahead and move it to start looking at how anything we have some as I think a lot of the people on this call from the North Bay lived through. It's very serious about the wildfires that have taken place in the Bay Area, particularly in the North Bay. In 2019, as we were getting ready for the Science Discovery Day, the wildfires got very serious. And we actually had to shut down our Science Discovery Day. And as that was happening right around us, we actually became the evacuation center. People were coming to be evacuated as the fires were taking place. There we go. Fire trucks were coming from all over the state of California. Imperial Beach, where this is from Southern California. There was San Diego. They were coming from everywhere. Hundreds, thousands of firefighters were coming in and to deal with the Kincaid fire, and had done it the year before, and they did it again this year. The thing would be, how can we use science to better understand where the wildfires are? Because we have to decide, where are the firefighters going to go? If we have all these fires and they're all over the place, where do we put the firefighters? How do we make those decisions? And that is what a lot of the shortwave infrared can be helpful on. When we saw when we saw this image is that we can see where fires are. There's a characteristic about shortwave infrared that, I mean, this particular infrared we have is very good because it does not, fires really stand out. Sunlight makes a lot of shortwave infrared, like the cameras we're using today are, and it makes a lot of visible light, of course. So a fire doesn't show terribly brightly. Another feature that's really good about this is that it shows day and night. The fires can be seen all the time, even at night.
Jim, 2 questions. Morelia asks, would it be able to pick up much smaller fires?
Yes. Okay. And that's perfect. We're looking at there are lots of different types of satellites. Okay, there are satellites. This is one. This is a Landsat satellite that is close to the Earth. It circles very close to the Earth and it takes pictures up close. And by contrast, the one we've been looking at is way high. It's almost 1/10 the way to the moon. It's way up there, and it can see everywhere, but it doesn't see in really good detail. So it probably cannot really pick out little fires. But these satellites that are up close can actually help find little fires. They can track them. So it's often a combination of wildfires that of satellites that's Landsat again, and as the picture represents, it's not that high up off the Earth. It's in the kind of like where the space shuttle was, or the International Space Station. I mean, it's lower in the Earth. This is I'm getting mixed up with, I think this is this is Terra. This is Terra satellite. There are lots of satellites that can do it, but so these ones that are up close can see better.
So Jim, one more question, and I think I'm going to try and answer it. KA says the satellite sets the hot temperatures to the color black, so they're easier to see, and they can choose what color each temperature is. Yes. So the satellite, when the scientists send the satellites up, they do choose the color that they want to show up. And there's a special name for that. And it is called, just a second, I'm looking it up here.
Can I help you on that, Natalie? They just call it false color.
That's right, false color. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all it is. I'm just going to be vocabulary.
Yeah, it's to help the scientists visualize the data. They map different numbers, and then whatever the number is, like the percentage of light that's getting through, they'll choose a color to represent that percentage. And the color code is arbitrary, and so the scientists can choose how they want the data to be visualized. And that's what you saw there, was that NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, was choosing colors that would help them see clouds, because often they're very interested in weather prediction. But it turns out that the same image is very good for seeing wildfires as well.
Just to add something here, if these cameras were special and the satellites were specialized for seeing fires, like if there was a satellite that was all they wanted to do was see fires and help predict where they're going to happen, they could set fires to be like bright red or bright green or something, so that you could see them better.
And they can take the same picture and change the color code on it whenever they want to. And then Luca made the point in the chat that our cameras are shortwave, not midwave, so they are not exactly the same as the ones that are on the satellites, which is a good point to make, but they're similar. They are pretty similar. And Jim, we're at 12, I mean, we're at 9:40 at this point. We're 12:40 in Maryland.
Thank you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
so
DC is 12:40, so you know.
Okay, and one thing, this is, we're all doing this for the first time, is, so Natalie, this is, we didn't do polling, which is fine, but what we wanted to do is our question, or what are people interested in, where do we go in our remaining time? Whether or not we can get the polling up, it would be, we wanted you to know there's a lot of directions you can go with this. And there was a question earlier. We can go back to those. I just want to make sure that a good part of this time is totally what you all wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and Jim, I'm having trouble bringing up the polling at this moment, so
Okay.
maybe we could just read off the choices and
Yeah.
have people say in the
Okay.
chat. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
No.
Oh, wait, it came up.
Yeah,
It came up.
there we
The
are.
poll is here. So everybody go ahead and answer the poll, right? You could put it in. Put in your choices. Then I think Diane might be the one to tell us the results or to post the poll for us after everyone takes it.
So far, people are just now starting to respond. So I'm going to
Thanks,
give it
Diane.
a little bit longer. Okay, so it just stopped going up. No, we're still voting. Okay, any last minute ones? Okay, I think I'm gonna. Alrighty, I think I'm gonna end the polling. Okay.
While we're waiting for the results, I think there's a question in the chat. So
There
Oh.
is. What are other important uses for infrared light? Well, one off the top of my head is energy savings. So we can go around and see where wasted energy is coming from light bulbs. That's a great way that we use it at our school to try and make sure that we're as energy efficient as we can. Do we want to go over to the results of that poll now?
It looks like the winner is more fun experiments and live discoveries, please.
And while Jim's pulling up some more fun experiments and live discoveries, Morelia asked, in the long wave infrared, what do the colors symbolize? A lot of times the colors in long wave infrared correlate with temperature. So our bodies can sometimes sense long wave infrared, and we sense it as heat. It's still energy, it's still light, just like visible light, but our eyes won't pick it up. But we can feel the long wave infrared energy sometimes.
The long wave infrared is actually not our sense of sight, it's our sense of touch and feel. And like, if it's a really hot day, that means there's a lot of long wave infrared light. If it's a really cold day, that means there's not very much.
And KA said, quickly tell how infrared helps prevent climate change. So the energy that's entering, reflecting, and absorbed and emitted by the Earth are all part of the Earth's radiation budget. And so the radiation budget represents how much energy we can allow in to Earth's atmosphere and how much energy needs to exit. And so when we're looking at infrared light, we're helping people to understand that more light is coming into the Earth from the sun than we can see with our eyes, and it's affecting our climate systems. And then also the Earth itself is creating light, and so are we, creating invisible light that we can't see with our eyes. And that is all collecting in the Earth's atmosphere. And so, you know, that's affected by the greenhouse gases like water vapor and carbon dioxide. And the way that we can use infrared light is to really track the changing weather and the changing climate, to track wildfires. And then, like I said, also to look at light bulbs and see where energy is wasted, and how we can use more efficient light bulbs to reduce the energy we're using and help keep the Earth at an appropriate climate for human life. So all of that was super quick because I know we want to go on.
Okay. Oh, never mind.
So what, I have some different things here. And do I see the polling question still up? Should we, is that on people's screen?
No, they're not actually. They disappeared. So.
Okay, so maybe it's me.
Oh, now
that,
they're back up again. It looks like, yeah, now they're back up again. So.
Okay. So, okay, what I want to do is let's look at fabrics, clothing, things that people wear. Okay, so first we're just looking at visible light, and we see some different objects here that are kind of common, scarves and various. There's a tie here I have here, all kinds of things, and I've specifically picked things that tend to be black and white. Okay, so then we can have an idea of what do you think they're going to look like in shortwave infrared. Are they all? Does white always look a certain way? Does black always look a certain way? So I've got a hat here, a wool hat, which you can barely see. Let's see if we can get so you can see it a little bit on something black and a little bit on something white. And we'll go ahead over here and see reactions. Are people seeing that okay?
If you want to react out loud, you can unmute yourself and tell Jim what you're thinking or what you're seeing. You can also type it in the chat.
Right. I think we have a pretty good crowd, so I think we can even
Morelli
go with
says
it. Just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah. Why is the black marker black, but the hat white? The black objects look white in infrared. So not all black objects look white in infrared because you were able to see the clock was black. The rim of the clock was black in both infrared and visible.
And this even relates to, well, one is science in terms of protecting the earth and seeing that we understand it and we respecting it and looking at things, and then also what we do to use for technology. One of the ways that shortwave in particular, shortwave infrared is particular, is to identify what is something made of. That's a big area of science right now. That's huge. It's exploding in terms of all these tricky ways to figure out what's in things, whether there's pollution somewhere, whether a plastic is one type of plastic for sorting it, lots and lots of things. And there's certain characteristics. Now I'll use a few words that are kind of techie, but I'll keep it on the simple one. So you can see a pattern that some things tend to be black and some things to be very light. There's and so you need these cameras to see what they're going to look like. Basically, if the coloring is something that is using plant-based, it will tend to be very light. It will tend to be very light. If it's using something that colors a lot of things black, there's a thing called carbon black. It's using kind of like little tiny pieces of charcoal, but it's a special material that's used in black paint. It's used in tires. It's used in all kinds of plastics. Many things that are made of, that are black look black, and those things will tend to look black. But it's kind of cool how you have to kind of look to see what things they're going to be on stuff. Okay, and I guess some of these little objects that are here.
And I think that just relates back to when we looked at the chlorophyll and we looked at the orange juice. So if they're coloring a scarf or a sweatshirt with plant-based color, then it's going to be more transparent and lighter. But if they're using something that is carbon-based, then it might still look black. Jim, it is 9:50 in California, so we're down to our last 5 minutes. Everybody, we're down to our last 5 minutes, so we have time for probably one more thing.
Okay. I'm going to move it to. I just brought something else up, but I don't want to we really want to respect what people wanted to go. I just pulled some different things out here, so I'm going to let you all sort out if we can do more fun experiments, or it can be. We can go to the second or third, or the vote. We want to do as much as we can with everybody. That's the point. But we don't want to waste time on things. Yeah.
Why does the rectangle thing look littler in the other picture than the other?
Right. So that's good. Okay. That is a thing where, let me see if I can do it. last minute, last night, I had to change cameras. I had exactly the same kind of cameras, and I had to go to an older one because I was struggling with one. So I tend to have it, so I didn't get to balance that well. It's what I'm doing is just moving the zoom on one to compensate it. That's all that was. It's just the lens wasn't zoomed in to the same degree. Okay.
Okay.
Jim, do you want to really quick show the kids what cameras you've been using? Is
Yeah,
that something that
Thank
can,
you.
that
Yeah.
can be done?
Okay. Right. So I'm going to show two different type of cameras here. We really get into making science that can be understood by people and having it fun. So we put money and time and things in this stuff. I'm going to show a camera that's the type of camera that we're using overhead, but this is more expensive. Okay. And so where I'm going to get to is we like to show people or come up with ways that it's as least expensive as possible. So you can do it too if you want, or your school can do it. You can use it for energy or science. And this particular one is, let me see if I put on. So, but anyway, this one can demonstrate something that is of interest. That, come on, there we go, and get you off here. So this particular camera, I'm actually looking through the camera right now. Okay. What this can demonstrate, so if you get the idea that we're looking at it from above, now we're looking through it, that this is a typical camera, a typical digital camera, just a nice one, what it is all cameras have filters on them. They normally have a filter that blocks out infrared because it makes the picture look weird. And what we have is a camera that has taken off that filter, and you can see now we can see through, now we're seeing visible light and shortwave infrared. If I put the filter that blocks visible light off, okay, so the idea is almost all cameras you have these days, digital cameras, have this ability, but you have to take off the filter that blocks the infrared light and have a filter that blocks the visible light. So that's the kind of filter I'm using right now. And I'm realizing I don't, let's see, I'll get one. I'll try to get one here in a second, a filter that does the other way. So let's see if I can do this quickly. And if we're running out of time or anything, you can stop me. But here's an example of a less expensive camera. Okay. Let's see if I can, sorry, if I go back to that here. This is just, these are DS camcorders, and we can see them get down to maybe $200. I mean, I wish they were 10, but they're good for a school or whatever. But they have a special thing where this filter's been removed, and I put special filters on it and things like that. But these are much more less expensive than the others. And here, so let's see if I can do it quickly. If I can get this filter out, this is the type of filter. Let's see. Oh, geez, this is funny. This is the type of filter that is on all your cameras. And let's see if I can do it. That it's called a hot filter. So they're on all cameras normally, and they block out the infrared. You'll see how you can't see now it goes backwards. Now you can't see the other way. And it kind of gives it a bluish look to it, but that just adjusts it. And if I put it on, if we go back to this camera, sorry. If we go back to this camera, oh, darn, sorry. There we go. Now we're just looking at visible light, and we can see the card. Okay, now I've got it in monochrome because we can do it, it's on monochrome, but you can see, so that all along we've been using a regular camera, and that's a lot of why we like to start out with shortwave infrared, because we like to do demonstrations that you can do too. The other types of infrared are very expensive cameras. Okay.
Jim, I think that's all we have time for.
Okay.
Everybody, thank you for coming.
We really got a great set of participants here. I really was really pleased with what the students had to say. And
Luca just corrected my Spanish. Thank you. It's una idea buena, but I was just saying it was a nice day. Un buen día.
Oh, sorry, I messed up again.
That's okay.
That would be.
And I might just be seeing the chat late in it. These are These are Twitter handles, right? That we're seeing a lot going up.
Yeah, and also YouTube. I was saying that people might
yeah.
want to look at the infrared videos that are on YouTube on all of those different. If they search any of those, they'll come up with some great videos.
Right.
So thank you
Great.
both so much. I just love this and I appreciate your presentation and all of you great kids for joining. I hope you had a great time. We've got other seminars or sessions running today and we look forward to seeing you in one of those.
Yep. And
Thanks,
although
Diana, for hosting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.